The rejection stone sat in the center of the elder's chamber, pulsing with a soft silver light that made Kira's skin crawl. She'd been staring at it for the last 10 minutes while the 5 elders debated her fate, like she wasn't even in the room, like she was a problem to be solved rather than a person. "She's 23, Elder Moira said, her voice sharp with disapproval. "Well past the age of first shift. If she hasn't manifested by now, she never will," agreed. Elder Thomas nodded, his gray beard bobbing. "The girl is wolfless. It's unfortunate, but not unprecedented. We should arrange for her to join the human settlements across the border. She'll be happier there." Kira kept her eyes down, kept her breathing even, kept her hands folded in her lap like the obedient little failure they expected her to be. She'd heard variations of this conversation her entire life, whispered when people thought she couldn't hear, shouted during arguments with her father, the pack's head warrior, who'd spent 2 decades trying to force a shift that never came. "There's still the matter of the prophecy," Elder Sarah said quietly. The room went silent. Kira's heart kicked against her ribs, but she didn't look up. The prophecy, the curse that had hung over her head since the moment she was born. The reason her mother had died during childbirth, or so they said. The reason everything in her life had gone wrong. "The prophecy is exactly why she needs to leave," Elder Marcus said. "The Alpha King arrives in 3 days for the mating ceremony with Alpha Darius's daughter. We can't risk." "Can risk what?" Kira finally looked up, meeting Marcus's cold stare. "Can't risk the cursed wolfless girl embarrassing the pack? Can't risk me being near the Alpha King? Can't risk the prophecy actually meaning something?" "Kira," Elder Moira's voice was a warning. "You will show respect." "I've shown respect my entire life. I've followed every rule, completed every test, accepted every humiliation." Kira stood, her legs shaking but her voice steady. "And you still treat me like I'm contagious, like being wolfless is somehow my fault." "Sit down," Elder Thomas commanded. No, the word came out before Kira could stop it. She'd never refused a direct order from an elder before, never had the courage. But something was different today. Something had been building inside her for weeks, ever since the Alpha King's visit was announced. A pressure, a pull, a certainty that everything was about to change. The rejection stone flared brighter, its silver light intensifying until Kira had to squint against the glare. The elders exchanged glances, and Kira saw something flash across their faces. Not anger, fear. "The stone is reacting to her," Elder Sarah whispered. "It's never done that before." "It's just a fluctuation in the magic," Marcus said quickly. "Too quickly. It means nothing, doesn't it?" Kira stepped closer to the stone, drawn by something she couldn't name. The light pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, and she could swear she heard something. A sound like howling, like clawing, like something trapped and desperate to get out. "What is this stone really for?" "You've always said it's for rejecting unsuitable mates, but I've never seen it used. Never heard of it being used." "That's enough." Elder Moira stood, her command laced with alpha power that should have driven Kira to her knees. Should have, but didn't. "You will leave this chamber immediately and prepare for your relocation." The human settlements while the doors to the chamber exploded inward with enough force to crack the marble doorframe. Every head snapped toward the entrance, where a man stood silhouetted against the afternoon light. He was massive, easily 6.5 feet of solid muscle, with hair black as midnight and eyes that burned gold even in human form. Power rolled off him in waves so intense the air itself seemed to shimmer. Alpha King Thorn Blackwood had arrived 3 days early, and he was staring at Kira like she was the only person in the room. "Who?" His voice was deadly quiet, the kind of calm that preceded violence. "Was about to be relocated to the human settlements?" The elders dropped to their knees immediately, all except Elder Marcus, who remained standing for a heartbeat too long before his body forced him down. "Your Majesty," Elder Moira said, her voice shaking. "We weren't expecting you until." "Answer the question." Thorn stepped into the chamber, and Kira felt the temperature drop. "Who are you trying to send away?" "The wolfless girl, Your Majesty," Elder Thomas said. "She has no place in her name, The command in those 2 words brought half the room to their knees. Use her name. Silence. Then Kira heard her own voice, stronger than she expected. Kira. My name is Kira. Thorn's eyes locked onto hers, and the world tilted. Kira felt it hit her like lightning, the mate bond, undeniable and absolute. She saw the recognition flash across his face, saw his eyes widen, saw him take a step toward her before he caught himself. Kira, he repeated, and her name in his mouth sounded like a prayer. You were about to send my mate to the human settlements. The elders' faces went white. That's impossible, Marcus said. She's wolfless. She can't be anyone's mate, especially not. She has the mark. Thorn pointed to Kira's collarbone, where a small silver birthmark sat just above her heart. Kira had always hated it, had always covered it with high collars and scarves, but now Thorn was looking at it like it was the most important thing in the world. The royal mate mark, the one that appears on the destined mate of the ruling Alpha King, the one that's been documented in our archives for 1,000 years. Kira looked down at the birthmark. It was glowing, faint, barely visible, but definitely glowing. She's wolfless, Elder Moira insisted. Tested multiple times. She's never shifted, never shown any signs of. Then you tested wrong. Thorn moved to stand beside Kira, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Or you lied. The rejection stone flared again, brighter than before. And this time, Kira didn't just hear the howling. She felt it. Deep in her chest, in the place where her wolf should be, she felt something rage against invisible chains. Something powerful and ancient and absolutely furious. What did you do? The question came out raw. Kira turned to the elders, to these people she'd trusted her entire life. What did you do to me? We protected you, Elder Sarah said quietly. Tears streamed down her face. We protected you from the prophecy, from your fate, from herself. Thorn's voice was ice. You sealed her wolf, trapped it, used blood magic and binding stones to suppress her power. He gestured to the rejection stone. That's not a mating stone. That's a prison. Kira couldn't breathe. 23 years. 23 years of being told she was broken, defective, less than. 23 years of shame and isolation and failure. And it was all a lie. The prophecy said she would be the death of the Alpha King, Marcus said desperately. When she was born, the signs were clear. A royal mate mark appearing on a child of no notable bloodline. A birth that killed her mother. A power that made the very earth tremble. We had to seal it. Had to protect the future king. Had to play with forces you didn't understand. Thorn's eyes blazed gold. Sealing a wolf doesn't just suppress power. It fractures the soul. Causes madness. Kills the host within a decade. He looked at Kira, and his expression shifted to something between rage and devastation. How are you still alive? I don't know, Kira whispered. She was shaking now, her whole body trembling with something that might have been fury or grief or both. I don't know anything anymore. The stone, Elder Sarah said. We had to keep renewing the seal, every year on her birthday. The ritual required. She stopped, looking sick. Required what? Thorn demanded. Blood, Kira said flatly. The pieces were clicking into place. The yearly ceremonies the elders insisted on. The cuts on her palms that never quite healed right. The way she always felt hollow and exhausted for weeks afterward. You've been using my blood to keep my wolf trapped. To keep you alive, Moira insisted. The prophecy is 1,000 years old and has been interpreted wrong 100 different ways. Thorn's voice could have cut glass. But what you've done is clear. You tortured a child, fractured her soul, kept her broken and weak so she couldn't fulfill a destiny you decided she didn't deserve. We were trying to save your life. Marcus stood, his composure finally cracking. The prophecy said she would bring death to the Alpha King. We couldn't risk, so you decided to play Moon Goddess. Thorn stepped in front of Kira, protective and possessive. You took a girl's wolf, her power, her identity. You made her believe she was nothing. And you did it all while telling yourselves you were heroes. The rejection stone began to crack. Fine lines appeared across its surface, spider webbing out from the center. Light leaked from the fissures, silver and blinding. It's breaking, Elder Sarah whispered. The seal is breaking. Good. Thorn looked back at Kira. The mate bond is interfering with their magic. My presence, my power is giving your wolf strength to fight back. His expression softened. But breaking a seal this old, this strong, is going to hurt. A lot. Are you ready? Kira thought about 23 years of being told she was worthless. Thought about the shame, the isolation, the constant, grinding pain of feeling incomplete. Thought about the elders who'd smiled to her face while keeping her chained. Break it, she said. Break it all. Thorn reached out and took her hand. The moment their skin touched, power exploded through the chamber. The rejection stone shattered completely, fragments flying outward like shrapnel. Kira screamed as something inside her chest tore free, as chains she'd never known were there snapped apart, as her wolf, her beautiful, powerful, absolutely enraged wolf, surged to the surface for the first time in 23 years. The shift took her like a tidal wave. Pain and ecstasy and rightness all rolled into one overwhelming sensation. She felt her bones reshape, her muscles expand, her senses sharpen to impossible clarity. She felt power flood through her veins, ancient and unstoppable. When she opened her eyes, she was standing on four legs, and the wolf looking back at her from the polished marble floor was white, pure, shining white, with eyes that glowed like molten silver. The elders stared in horror. Thorn stared in wonder. A white wolf, he breathed. The first in 500 years. The mark of the moon goddess's chosen. The most powerful shifter alive. He laughed, and it came out slightly unhinged. You tried to seal a celestial wolf. You tried to trap the moon goddess's own champion. No wonder the magic was killing you both. Kira shifted back, the transformation easier this time, natural. She stood naked in the center of the shattered stone, power crackling around her like lightning. One of Thorn's guards who'd followed him and threw her a cloak. She wrapped it around herself without taking her eyes off the elders. You knew, she said quietly. You knew what I was. That's why you sealed me. Not to protect anyone. Because you were afraid. We were terrified, Elder Sarah admitted. A white wolf hasn't been born since the Great Wars. They're too powerful, too dangerous. We thought if we could just suppress it until you were older, until you were trained, you would have killed her before she reached 30, Thorn said flatly. The seal was already fracturing. I can see the magic degrading. Another year, maybe two, and it would have imploded. Taken her wolf, her sanity, and her life, Elder Marcus lifted his chin. We did what we thought was right. The prophecy, let me see this prophecy. Thorn's voice was command. Now, Elder Moira hesitated, then pulled a scroll from the ceremonial cabinet. Thorn read it, his expression growing darker with each line. Finally, he looked up. The white wolf born under the blood moon shall stand beside the Alpha King in his darkest hour. Through her sacrifice, death shall be denied and the kingdom preserved. He stared at the elders. That's the prophecy. She's supposed to save me, not kill me. You misread it, or you lied about it because you wanted to control a power you didn't understand. The silence was deafening. Get out, Kira said. Her voice was still quiet, but it carried. All of you, out of this chamber, out of this pack house. I want you gone. You can't. Marcus started. She can. Thorn's eyes blazed. She's my mate, the moon goddess's chosen, and she has more authority than all of you combined. He looked at Kira. What do you want done with them? Kira thought about mercy, about forgiveness, about being the bigger person. Then she thought about 23 years of unnecessary suffering and decided she was done being reasonable. Strip their titles, remove them from the Elder Council, let them live as regular pack members and experience what it's like to have no power, no authority, no one listening when they speak. She smiled, and it wasn't kind. Let them know what I felt every day of my life. Consider it done. Thorn gestured to his guards. Escort the former elders out. Make sure the pack knows why they've been removed. They dragged the elders away, Marcus shouting protests, Sarah crying, Moira silent and ashen-faced. When they were gone, when it was just Kira and Thorn and the shattered remains of her prison, Kira finally let herself feel it all. She collapsed. Thorn caught her before she hit the ground, lowering them both until they were sitting in the wreckage. Kira buried her face in his chest and sobbed for the girl she'd been, for the years she'd lost, for the wolf that had been screaming inside her for 23 years with no one listening. "I've got you," Thorn murmured, his hand gentle in her hair. "You're safe now. You're free. They stole everything from me. I know. They made me believe I was broken. I know. I hate them." The words came out vicious. "I hate them so much. That's allowed." Thorn pressed a kiss to her temple. "That's more than allowed." What they did was monstrous. Kira pulled back enough to look at him. "The prophecy said I'd save you." "From what?" "I don't know yet." His expression was serious. "But whatever it is, we'll face it together. You and me. Mates. Partners. Equals. I don't know how to be any of those things. Neither do I, really." He smiled, and it transformed his face from intimidating to heartbreaking. "I've been Alpha King since I was 19. Spent the last decade being told I needed to choose a politically advantageous mate, produce heirs, strengthen alliances. And then I walk into a random elder chamber and find you, and the mate bond hits me like a freight train." "I'm not political," Kira warned. "I'm not trained. I don't know anything about being a Luna or a queen or whatever I'm supposed to be now." "Good." "I hate politics." Thorn cupped her face in his hands. "You're my mate. That's all you need to be. Everything else, we'll figure out together." The mate bond hummed between them, warm and right and absolute. Kira felt her wolf settle for the first time, content in a way it had never been before. Content in a way she'd never been before. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Thorn helped her to her feet. "Now we let the pack know their elders have been removed. We call my council and explain that I've found my mate. We start the process of undoing 23 years of damage." He paused. "And eventually, when you're ready, we complete the mate bond properly. With a ceremony, with witnesses, with everything you deserve. And the prophecy? We'll deal with it when it comes." Thorn's expression turned fierce. "But whatever threatens me, whatever darkness is coming, it's going to have to go through you first. And I pity anything stupid enough to challenge a white wolf." Kira laughed. It came out watery and broken, but genuine. "I don't know how to fight. I was never allowed to train." "Then I'll teach you. My beta will teach you. We have the best warriors in 5 kingdoms. You'll learn." He smiled. "And something tells me you're going to be terrifying." A commotion outside the chamber made them both turn. Kira's father, the head warrior who'd spent decades ashamed of his wolfless daughter, stood in the doorway. His face was pale, his eyes wide. "Kira," his voice cracked on her name. "They're saying the elders are saying." He stopped, staring at her, at the silver glow still lingering on her skin, at the way she stood beside the Alpha King like she belonged there. "You shifted. I always had a wolf, Dad." Kira's voice was steady. "They sealed it when I was born. Kept it trapped for 23 years. Let me believe I was broken when I was just imprisoned." Her father's face crumpled. "I didn't know." "Kira, I swear I didn't know." "If I had, would you have believed me?" The question came out harsh. "Or would you have believed the elders? Believed that your daughter was just defective?" He flinched like she'd struck him. "I need time," Kira said. "I need space to figure out who I am now, what I am. And I need you to let me do that without trying to fix me or change me or make me into what you wanted me to be. I never wanted you to be anything but happy," her father whispered. "Then let me be happy now." Kira gestured to Thorn. "The Alpha King is my mate. I'm leaving with him, going to the capital, learning to use my power properly. And when I come back, if I come back, I'll be different. I'll be whole. And you can decide then if you're proud of me or still ashamed." "I was never ashamed. You were." The words came out flat. "Every day of my life, you were ashamed. I saw it, felt it, knew it." Kira's voice softened slightly. "Maybe you loved me anyway, but you were still ashamed." Her father had no response to that. He stood there, this powerful warrior reduced to silence by his daughter's truth. Thorn placed a hand on Kira's shoulder. "We should go. My transport is waiting," Kira nodded. She walked past her father without another word, through the pack house where people stopped and stared, out into the late afternoon sun. Thorn's convoy was indeed waiting, sleek black vehicles surrounded by guards. "Your Majesty," a woman in tactical gear said, approaching with a bow. "We've secured the area. Ready to depart when you are." "Thank you, Vera." Thorn helped Kira into the lead vehicle, then slid in beside her. The door closed, muffling the sounds of the pack gathering to watch. Comfortable, Kira looked at the leather seats, the tinted windows, the bottle of water someone had thoughtfully left in the cuffholder. Looked at Thorn beside her, solid and real, and hers. Looked at the pack house in the rearview mirror, getting smaller as they pulled away. "I'm leaving," she said. "Just like that. I'm leaving everything I've ever known." "You're not leaving." Thorn took her hand. "You're escaping. There's a difference. What if I'm not ready? What if I can't do this? Then we'll figure it out together. One day at a time. One moment at a time." He squeezed her hand. "But Kira, you've survived 23 years of having your soul fractured. You're stronger than you know." Kira leaned into his shoulder and watched her old life disappear behind her. She felt her wolf stretch and settle, felt power thrumming through her veins, felt the mate bond connecting her to this man who'd walked into her life and shattered all her chains. She was terrified. She was free. For the first time in her life, those two things felt like they might be okay together. The capital was overwhelming. Kira had never been beyond pack borders before, had never seen buildings more than 3 stories tall or streets filled with hundreds of people. The royal compound was a city unto itself, with walls that stretched toward the sky and guards at every checkpoint. "It's a lot," Thorn said as they drove through the main gates. "I know it's a lot, but you'll get used to it, will I?" Kira stared at the immaculate gardens, the marble fountains, the wolves in formal dress walking with purpose. "This is your world. I'm just my mate, my equal." The future queen, Thorn's voice was firm. "Don't diminish yourself. Not here, not with me." The vehicle stopped in front of a building that looked more like a palace than a house. Servants appeared immediately, opening doors, offering assistance. Kira let them help her out, let them guide her up marble steps and through doors that belonged in fairy tales. "These will be your quarters," Thorn said, leading her down a corridor lined with paintings of previous Alpha Kings and their mates, connected to mine but separate. "I want you to have your own space while you adjust." He opened a door, and Kira stepped into rooms that were bigger than the entire servants' quarters she lived in her whole life. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked gardens, furniture that looked too expensive to touch, a bed large enough for 5 people. "It's too much," she whispered. "It's yours." Thorn moved to stand beside her. "All of it. And if you hate it, we can change it. Different colors, different furniture, different everything. This is your home now. I don't know how to live like this. You'll learn. And I'll help you." He checked his watch, frowned. "I have meetings I can't cancel. Council business that's been waiting. But Vera will stay with you. She's my head of security and completely trustworthy. If you need anything, ask her." "You're leaving?" The panic must have shown on Kira's face because Thorn's expression softened. "Just for a few hours. I'll be back before dinner." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "You're safe here. I promise. No one can hurt you." He left, and Kira stood alone in her golden cage. Vera appeared in the doorway, her expression professional but not unkind. "Would you like a tour of the compound? Or perhaps to rest? The journey was long." "I want to train," Kira said. The words surprised her, but once they were out, they felt right. "You're head of security. That means you fight." "I want to learn." Vera's eyebrows rose. "The Alpha King said you just gotten your wolf back. Shouldn't you take time to? I've taken 23 years. Kira met Vera's eyes. "I'm done waiting. Done being weak. Done being the girl everyone thinks needs protecting. If I'm going to be queen, I need to know how to defend myself." A slow smile spread across Vera's face. "All right then. Let's see what you're made of." The training grounds were in the basement of the compound, a massive space filled with equipment Kira didn't recognize and warriors who stopped to stare when she entered. Vera ignored them, leading Kira to a padded sparring area. Shift, Vera commanded. Let's see your wolf. Kira closed her eyes and reached for the power that had been trapped for so long. The shift came easier this time, smooth and natural. She felt herself transform, felt her white wolf take over. The watching warriors gasped. Someone actually dropped their weapon. A white wolf, one of them breathed. Holy goddess, she's a white wolf. Vera circled Kira slowly, assessing. You're bigger than I expected. Faster too, I'd wager. But you have no training, no control. You're all power and no technique. She shifted into her own wolf, sleek and brown with intelligent eyes. Let's fix that. What followed was the most brutal 3 hours of Kira's life. Vera didn't hold back, didn't make allowances for the fact that Kira had never trained before. She threw Kira to the ground repeatedly, corrected her stance, her balance, her instincts, pushed her until Kira was panting and exhausted and ready to collapse. Again, Vera said. I can't again. Kira found reserves she didn't know she had, pushed past pain, past exhaustion, past every limit she'd ever thought she had. And slowly, incrementally, she started to improve, started to anticipate Vera's moves, started to counter instead of just defending. When Vera finally called a halt, Kira shifted back and collapsed on the mat, every muscle screaming. Not bad, Vera said, offering her hand. For a complete beginner, you've got good instincts. With proper training, you'll be formidable. How long? Kira gasped. How long until I'm actually good? Depends on how hard you work. Vera pulled her to her feet. But you've got advantages most don't. A white wolf is naturally stronger, faster, more durable. And the mate bond with an alpha king will amplify your power even more. She paused. But power without control is just chaos. So we train. Every day. Until you're not just powerful, but skilled. Kira nodded, too exhausted to speak. Come on, Vera said. I'll show you to the baths. You're going to want to soak before dinner. The baths were another revelation, heated pools and marble rooms, steam rising in soft clouds. Kira sank into the water and felt her abused muscles begin to relax. She stayed there until her skin pruned, until the exhaustion became manageable, until she felt almost human again. When she finally made it back to her quarters, she found Thorn waiting. He was sprawled in one of her chairs, tie loosened, looking as tired as she felt. Vera tells me you trained for 3 hours, he said without preamble. On your first day, after getting your wolf back after 23 years of being sealed, I wanted to learn. You're going to hurt yourself if you're not careful. I've been hurt my whole life. Kira sat across from him. At least this pain has a purpose. Thorn studied her for a long moment. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone broken. Someone who needed to be saved and protected and handled carefully. He smiled slightly. Instead, I got someone who demands training the day she arrives and pushes herself until she can barely walk. Disappointed, impressed, he stood, moving to kneel in front of her chair. But I also don't want you to burn yourself out trying to prove something. You don't have to earn your place here, Kira. You already have it, do I? The question came out smaller than she intended. Everyone here knows what I am. White wolf, mate to the Alpha King, moon goddesses chosen. But I don't feel like any of those things. I feel like the wolfless girl who couldn't even defend herself. Then we changed that. Thorn took her hands. Together, at whatever pace you need. But please, don't hurt yourself trying to become someone you think you should be. You're enough, right now. As you are. Kira felt tears prick her eyes. No one's ever said that to me before. Then they were all idiots. Thorn pulled her forward into a hug that felt like coming home. You're extraordinary. Even if you can't see it yet. They stayed like that for a while, wrapped around each other, the mate bond humming contentedly between them. Eventually, Thorn pulled back. There's something I need to tell you, he said, about the prophecy. About why I think you were sealed. Kira's stomach dropped. What? There's been a threat brewing for years. A rogue faction led by someone calling themselves the Void Alpha. They've been building an army, acquiring dark magic, preparing for something big. Thorne's expression was grim. My spies tell me they're planning an attack. On the capital. On me specifically. When? We don't know. But soon. Within the next few months. He squeezed her hands. The prophecy says you'll save me in my darkest hour. I think the elders knew about the threat, knew you were meant to stand beside me, and they sealed your wolf because they were terrified of what you'd become. A weapon, Kira whispered. A protector, Thorne corrected. A partner. The moon goddess doesn't make weapons. She makes guardians. I don't know how to protect you. I can barely protect myself. You'll learn. And you won't be alone. Thorne stood, pulling her up with him. I have the best warriors in 5 kingdoms, the strongest defenses, the most advanced intelligence network. And now I have you. Together, we'll face whatever's coming. You're very sure of that. I have to be. His smile was crooked. I'm the Alpha King. Doubt isn't really in my job description. Despite everything, Kira laughed. Over the next 3 months, Kira's life became a blur of training, learning, and transformation. Vera drilled her mercilessly in combat. The King's Council taught her politics and diplomacy. Thorne showed her the intricacies of running a kingdom, and slowly, painfully, she began to believe that maybe she could do this. The nightmares came frequently, dreams of being trapped in that stone, unable to move or scream or shift. Dreams of the elders' faces as they performed the sealing ritual on an infant who couldn't fight back. Dreams of her wolf clawing at invisible chains. Thorne was always there when she woke, holding her, grounding her, reminding her that she was free. Tell me about your childhood, she said one night after a particularly bad dream. They were in his quarters this time. She'd stopped sleeping in her own rooms weeks ago. Tell me something happy. Thorne was quiet for a moment. My father took me fishing once. I was maybe 7. We went to this lake in the mountains, just the 2 of us. No guards, no advisors, no protocol. Just a father and his son with fishing rods. Did you catch anything? He did. I fell in the lake trying to grab a fish with my hands. Thorne smiled at the memory. He laughed so hard he nearly dropped his rod. Then he jumped in after me, fully clothed, and we had a splash fight that lasted an hour. He sounds wonderful. He was. I miss him every day. Thorne's arms tightened around her. He would have loved you, would have been so relieved that I found my true mate instead of settling for political convenience. What happened to him? The same thing that happens to most Alpha Kings eventually. Assassination attempt. They got him with a silver blade coated in wolfsbane. Thorne's voice was flat. I was 19, suddenly in charge of a kingdom I barely understood, surrounded by advisors who thought I was too young, facing threats from every direction. I'm sorry, don't be. It made me who I am. He pressed a kiss to her hair. Strong enough to protect what's mine. And you're mine, Kira, always. The mate bond had been growing stronger every day. They hadn't completed it yet. Thorne wanted to wait until Kira was sure, until she'd had time to adjust and heal and choose him freely rather than out of obligation or gratitude. But Kira was already sure, had been sure since the day he walked into that elder chamber and shattered her chains. I want to complete the bond, she said quietly. Thorne went still. Are you certain? I've never been more certain of anything. Kira rolled over to face him. I love you. I trust you. And I'm tired of waiting for the perfect moment. This is the perfect moment. Right now. Right here. Kira, unless you don't want to? Fear spiked through her. If you're having second thoughts, never. Thorne's eyes blazed gold. I've been waiting for you to be ready. But if you're ready now, then yes. Goddess, yes. What happened next was private. Sacred. Between mates only. But when dawn broke and Kira woke with Thorne's mark on her neck and her mark on his, she felt complete in a way she'd never imagined possible. How do you feel? Thorne asked, his voice rough from sleep and other things. Whole. Kira traced the bite mark on his shoulder. For the first time in my life, I feel whole. Good, he pulled her closer. Because we're going to need that wholeness. The intelligence reports came in last night. The Void Alpha is moving. The attack is coming within the week. Fear tried to claw its way into Kira's chest, but she pushed it down. She wasn't that scared wolfless girl anymore. She was a white wolf, the Alpha King's mate, the moon goddess's chosen, and she was done being afraid. Then we'll be ready, she said. The attack came on the full moon, because of course it did. Evil always had a flair for the dramatic. Kira was in the training grounds when the alarms sounded. Vera appeared at her side instantly, already shifted. They're at the walls, Vera said. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The Void Alpha brought an army. Where's Thorn? Coordinating the defense from command. He wants you in the safe room. No, Kira was already shifting, her white wolf emerging with ease now. The prophecy says I save him in his darkest hour. This is the hour. I'm not hiding, Kira, that's an order. The command came naturally, laced with alpha power that made even Vera pause. Take me to my mate. They ran through corridors filled with warriors mobilizing for battle. The command center was chaos screens showing the compound walls, reports coming in from all sectors, Thorn at the center of it all directing his forces like a general. He saw her and his eyes widened. You should be in the safe room, I should be with you. Kira padded to his side. Where you go, I go. That's how this works, Kira, this is war. Real war. You've been training for 3 months. You're not ready, the moon goddess says I am. Kira sat, her white coat gleaming under the harsh lights. Trust her, trust me. Thorn looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Stay close. Don't take unnecessary risks. And if I tell you to run, you run. Same to you, despite everything, he smiled. The battle was chaos. The Void Alpha's forces hit the walls like a tsunami, rogues and dark magic wielders working in concert to breach the defenses. Kira fought beside Thorn, her white wolf a beacon in the darkness. She was faster than she'd thought possible, stronger than she'd imagined, and the power flowing through her felt ancient and right. But there were so many of them. Fall back to the inner courtyard, Thorn commanded. Regroup and hold the line there. They retreated in formation, warriors covering each other, taking down enemies as they went. Kira felt a blade slice across her flank and ignored it, felt claws rake her shoulder and kept fighting. Her wolf was singing with battle fury, with the rightness of protecting her mate and her home. They made it to the inner courtyard and formed a defensive circle. Thorn stood in the center, his massive black wolf commanding and fierce. Kira stood at his back, covering his blind spots, trusting him to cover hers. Then the Void Alpha appeared. He was massive, bigger even than Thorn, with a coat so dark it seemed to absorb light. His eyes were empty pits, and power rolled off him in waves that made the very ground crack. Alpha King, his voice was like gravel and death. I've come for your throne, then you'll die trying, Thorn growled. They clashed in the center of the courtyard, two titans fighting for dominance. Kira tried to help, tried to intervene, but Thorn's voice in her head stopped her. Not him. The spell. Kira looked around and saw it a circle of dark magic wielders chanting, their power feeding into the Void Alpha, making him stronger. That's what she needed to stop. She charged the circle, breaking through their formation. The wielders tried to defend themselves, but they weren't warriors. They were magic users, and Kira was a white wolf with moon goddess power burning in her veins. She tore through them systematically, breaking their concentration, shattering their circle. The Void Alpha stumbled as his power boost cut off. Thorn seized the opening and went for his throat, but the Void Alpha had one more trick. He pulled a blade from thin air, pure darkness given form, and drove it toward Thorn's heart. Kira didn't think, didn't calculate, just moved. She took the blade meant for her mate, felt it pierce her chest, felt darkness spread through her veins like poison, felt her wolf scream in agony. But she also felt something else, the white wolf power surging up to meet the darkness. The moon goddess's blessing burning away the corruption. The mate bond with Thorn amplifying everything until she was burning so bright it hurt to look at. The Void Alpha's blade shattered. Kira's power exploded outward in a wave of silver light that swept across the battlefield, dissolving dark magic, healing the injured, strengthening her allies. The Void Alpha himself was thrown back, his empty eyes finally showing something. Fear. Impossible, he whispered. No, Kira shifted back to human form, standing over him with power crackling around her naked skin. Just inevitable. The prophecy said I'd save him in his darkest hour. Through my sacrifice, death would be denied. She smiled, and it was all teeth. I took the blade. Death is denied. And you lose. Thorn's warriors swarmed the Void Alpha. Within minutes, he was in silver chains, his power suppressed, his army scattering. The battle was over. Kira collapsed. She woke in the medical wing with Thorn holding her hand like it was the only thing keeping him sane. You're awake, his voice was hoarse. Thank the goddess, you're awake. How long? 3 days. The healer said the blade was pure dark magic, should have killed you instantly. But your white wolf power burned it away. Slowly, very slowly. He pressed his forehead to hers. Don't ever do that again. Take a blade for you? I absolutely will. Kira, that's what mates do. She squeezed his hand. We protect each other. You would have done the same. I would have been faster. Probably, she smiled. But I got there first. Thorn laughed, and it came out slightly broken. You're incredible. And terrifying. And I love you more than I thought it was possible to love another person. I love you too. Kira looked around the medical wing. Did we win? Completely. The Void Alpha is in our deepest dungeon. His army is scattered. And you, Thorn's smile was proud. You're being called the savior of the capital. The white wolf who burned away the darkness. The moon goddess's true champion. I was just protecting my mate. You were fulfilling the prophecy. Being exactly who you were meant to be. Thorn kissed her gently. The elders tried to prevent this. Tried to seal you away so you couldn't fulfill your destiny. But destiny doesn't care about seals or fear or small-minded people trying to control what they don't understand. What happens now? Now you heal. Then we have a proper mating ceremony. Then we roll together. Thorn's expression turned serious. If you want to. I know this isn't the life you chose. I know you were thrown into it. So if you want to walk away, to find your own path, stop. Kira cut him off. I'm not going anywhere. This is my path. You're my path. This life, this power, this purpose, all of it is mine. And I'm keeping it, you're sure? I've spent 23 years having my choices taken away, having my power suppressed, having my destiny denied. Kira met his eyes. Now I'm choosing. I choose you. I choose this. I choose to be exactly who I was meant to be. Thorn kissed her again, deeper this time. The mate bond sang between them, and Kira felt her wolf settle contentedly. She was home. She was whole. She was free. And she was never going back. The coronation was 6 months later, after Kira had fully healed and completed intensive training in both combat and diplomacy. She stood in the grand cathedral wearing ceremonial robes that weighed more than she did, with the entire kingdom watching. The ceremony was long and full of ritual she barely understood. But when they placed the crown on her head and declared her queen, when the kingdom howled its approval, Kira felt the rightness of it settle into her bones. This was who she was meant to be. Thorn stood beside her, his own crown gleaming, his hand warm in hers. Together they faced their kingdom, their people, their future. Your Majesties, the high priest said, the kingdom is yours to protect and guide. May the moon goddess grant you wisdom, strength, and many years together. Thank you, Thorn said. Then he turned to Kira with a smile. Ready to rule a kingdom? With you? Kira smiled back. Always. They walked out of the cathedral hand in hand while the kingdom celebrated. Somewhere in the crowd, Kira saw Vera, now promoted to head of the royal guard, saw her father, who traveled from the old pack to witness the ceremony with tears streaming down his face. Saw wolves from every pack in 5 territories, all united under their new queen. Overwhelming, Thorn asked quietly. Completely, Kira leaned into him. But I think I like it, good, because there's something else I need to tell you. Kira looked up at him. What? Thorn placed his hand on her stomach, and his eyes were suspiciously bright. The healers confirmed it this morning. We're having a pup. The world stopped. Kira couldn't finish the sentence. Are you sure? Completely sure. Thorn was grinning now. Due in about 7 months. The healers say it's strong, healthy, and already showing signs of alpha power. Kira pressed her hand over his, feeling the tiny life growing inside her. A child. Their child. A pup who would grow up knowing exactly who they were, who would never have their power sealed, who would never be told they were cursed or broken or less than. They're going to be loved, she whispered. So loved, they already are. Thorn pulled her close. By both of us. And by this entire kingdom. Kira looked out at the celebrating crowds, at the kingdom she would help rule, at the mate who'd freed her from her chains, looked at the future stretching out before her, bright and full of possibility. She'd been the girl everyone said had no wolf, the cursed child, the broken one. Now she was queen, mate, mother-to-be, the white wolf who saved the kingdom, and she was exactly where she was meant to be. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. I love hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me, please subscribe. It's free and it helps more people hear these stories.